Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live in the studio, so get involved in the chat and the comments. Going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news, all the latest Manchester United manager news, managerial news, because that is still obviously the hot topic. It looks as though, we know, Darren Fletcher is going to be in charge for this weekend's game against Brighton in the FA Cup. Longer term, or sort of short term, but still longer term than Darren Fletcher, would be someone like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Michael Carrick. We'll get into all that. But there are being other names floated around, especially as a permanent manager as well. So we'll be getting involved in those discussions and talking about what Roy Keane was saying on Sky Sports last night. He had a suggestion that some people might go, yeah, okay, others might go, what you want about Keano? But there's loads of names being floated around at the minute. So I want to hear what you think. Who do you think should be the Manchester United manager for the rest of this season and beyond that? We spoke to Laurie Whitwell on The Athletic yesterday. You can go and check that video out as well. And we've been speaking to Nathan Salt. That video is going to be out later on today too. So we'll be getting the opinion or the view from the journalists and what's been said around Old Trafford. But what I hear from you guys as well, the fans, what do you want? Who do you want, I should say? What do you want to see happen at Manchester United Football Club? It's good to see so many people in the chat already. Good to see. Not we okay? Okay, yeah, sorry. A few people saying there's a bit of an issue. Is it buffering? Video stream is messed up. What's going on? Yeah, there's a look. Someone want to have a check on YouTube. Chris, have a look on YouTube, see if it looks all right. I think it's all right on our case. Are we okay on our side? Sorry, let me know. We're just gonna have a little check there. I think people are saying that's better. It's sorted. Yeah, it's okay now. Thank you. Apologies for whatever went on there. I think we've got it all sorted. We've fixed the gremlins in the machine. Yeah, everyone's saying it's okay now. Thank you for that. Thanks for keeping me posted, and apologies for whatever that was. As I was saying, Roy Keane mentioned Eddie Howe. The sort of thing with Eddie Howe is, can you get him? Is he going to come from St James's to Manchester United? United are a much bigger club than Newcastle. I'm not even getting into that debate. We know that. Players know it. I think Cunha and Bumo and Sesko preferred Manchester United over Newcastle United. It wasn't because we're particularly better at the minute in terms of a team and what we're doing. They finished far above us in the table last season. I think it's the fact that we are a much bigger club, and Manchester United are a club that sort of, one of the top clubs in the world. Newcastle, a big club in its own right, but not the size of Manchester United. I think that's fair to say. Would Eddie Howe come to Manchester United? I don't know. I don't know is the obvious answer. He obviously has a good relationship with the Newcastle owners. Would United really go for him? I doubt it. I'll be honest with you. I don't think Eddie Howe's that guy. I just thought he's done well at Newcastle. He did relatively well at Bournemouth. I think they ended up getting relegated in the end. He was working on a bit of a budget. I just don't see him being top of the list for the Ineos. And I don't really think he's an appointment the fans would be that keen on. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat and you can correct me if you are. I just don't think it makes any sense, because I think you've got to jump through all these hoops to try and get him. There's a chance he might not even want to come. If he does want to come, you probably have to pay a lot of compensation and all the rest of it. And then if you get him, I don't even know if that's an appointment where people go, right, that's it now, we're really going to kick on. Let me know what you think. BMW Racing says, bring in Don Carlo or Enriquez. I'm guessing that's Enrique. Luis Enrique has been a popular choice amongst a lot of fans. A lot of fans looking at it going, look, he's available now, or he will be in the summer. He's not signing a new deal at PSG. Could he be the guy that comes in? Obviously done well there. Did well at Barcelona, albeit with a team that most managers would have done well with. He still won the treble there. So let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments. I don't mind someone with Premier League experience. I think that is a plus. But I think if you're going to go all out and get a manager from another club in the Premier League, I'd go for Unai Emery if you're going to do that. If you're going to go down that route and go, look, we're determined to try and get someone who's at another club, who's in the Premier League, who can really do a job here, I'd go for Emery over Eddie Howe. I'm not too keen on the likes of Iriola, Glasner, and Marco Silva, I think, is the other one we've been linked with now. They've all done relatively well at their clubs. Glasner's done very well winning the FA Cup, of course. Is it too big a step up, though, going from Palace to Manchester United? I know he did well at Frankfurt as well. You look at someone like Iriola, who had that. He's on a bit of a bad run. I think they won recently against Spurs, but before that they were on a bad run. Is he the guy? I'm not so sure. And then Marco Silva, who's just a decent jobbing Premier League manager. Don't see much on his CV that makes me think he's the guy who can come to Old Trafford and get us to the top again. Right, I'll get in some of the comments. NYESHAN says, how is trash? Martin says, if we are going Prem proven, Emery is the only one. I agree. Colin Wilmot, who's been a member of the academy for 51 months, says, do you think the interim coach will maintain a position under the new permanent coach because we need some continuity up the paddock? I think he should do. I think that makes sense. But the trouble you've got, actually, let me just sort of think about this. It does make sense. The trouble you have is sometimes when a manager goes from being sort of, when you say an interim, I take it you mean the caretaker, the one that's going to come in, like if it's Ollie or Carrick. I think Darren Fletcher should have a role with Carrick or Ollie. But if you're talking about should Ollie or Carrick have a role with a permanent manager, that's slightly different because sometimes you saw it with Ruben Amorim where Rude just moved on now. You could argue Ruben Amorim should have kept him around, but it's difficult if you've been managing to then just join the coaching staff because then some players might still look at you as the manager or whatever. I don't know is the honest answer there. It depends on the situation, but I wouldn't mind Darren Fletcher keeping a role under Carrick or Ollie. I just think once the new manager comes in, can he have Carrick and Ollie around? Would that be beneficial? Probably not. Would Ollie even want to stay on in the coaching staff if he's not the manager anymore? Especially when he's been the manager for a few years previously. I doubt it. Ivor says, problem with Emery is he's always works with Monchi as director of football. Wear my sunglasses at night, says Eddie Howe did the impossible, won a trophy with Newcastle. Could he do the impossible at United and win 5 in a row? Could any coach with these players? I mean, it sounds mental, doesn't it? The sort of the way we've slipped down or the standards have slipped and how far we done fell, as Bunk Moreland said. Yeah, I mean, can we win 5 in a row? It'd be nice to just win 2 in a row at the minute, to be honest with you, or 1 in a row. It has been a difficult spell, hasn't it? It really has. It's not been the greatest of seasons so far. I know we're still sort of in that mix for Champions League spots, but it's not been great, and last season was even worse. So, yeah, we just need someone who can come in and get this team winning football matches at a relatively consistent basis. That should be the initial job of the manager, and we can worry about winning things later. Let's talk about what Keane had to say about Fergie as well. Roy Keane blames Sir Alex Ferguson hanging on like a bad smell for Man United's decline and bad decisions after standing manager Darren Fletcher called him for advice, and Daniel Sturridge's reaction says it all. I think Sturridge was laughing at this. Roy Keane and Fergie don't get on at all, do they? And it's sad to see. I hate the fact that you've got one of the biggest legends the club's ever had and the greatest manager, arguably ever, just not getting on. And I know Fergie doesn't speak a lot about Keano, but when Keano is asked about Fergie, you can see there's no love lost there. And Roy Keane obviously feels like it's detrimental having Sir Alex Ferguson around. Now, look, I understand if Sir Alex Ferguson was making decisions, tactical advice or whatever, you might be like, really? You've been out of the game a long time. The manager needs to be his own man and do his own thing, and it's no good just keep ringing Fergie to get him to tell you what to do. But I don't think he is. I think he's just... Darren Fletcher rings Fergie. He's known him since he was 11. He's now the manager of Manchester United. Fergie was his manager. Fergie's the greatest manager certainly the Premier League's ever seen. Why wouldn't you just ring him and say, look, I'm the United gaffer now, any sort of advice, I don't mean tactical advice or anything you could think, you should say about it or whatever. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it kind of makes sense. I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson's going to be picking a team for him. And I don't really buy into this idea that Sir Alex Ferguson is hanging around like a bad smell. Did people say that about Matt Busby when he was there, when Fergie took over? No, Fergie spoke about it. If you ever see the Class of 92 doc, the players talk about it, how Matt Busby had an office at Manchester United and some of them wished they'd have spoken to him more. But he was always in there smoking his pipe, and it was good to have him there. And Fergie liked the fact that he was around. And I don't think it's a bad thing having someone like Sir Alex Ferguson as part of the club. And it's not like he's got a real hands-on role anymore. I think the Ineos have scaled back his role at the club. It's just more of an ambassadorial role. And even then, it's not quite what it used to be. I think he's more just like almost like a figurehead rather than doing anything. So I don't think that's a problem. I think Keane's just a little bit annoyed and sort of angry towards Sir Alex Ferguson. And that's probably why he's saying those comments. I know there's been a lot of people on socials when Darren Fletcher mentioned ringing Sir Alex Ferguson. Why is he ringing Fergie? But I don't think it's nothing that deep. It's not like he's ringing him going, right, should I play 4-3-3? Who should I pick? You know what I mean? He's not doing that, is it? He's probably just saying, look, I'm in the hot seat now. It's happened. Any sort of tips about being the boss or what do you make of it or whatever. I think that's fine. Let me know what you think. Heaven Soul says, I agree with the Fergie retiring thing. That's fine. He deserves it. But Fletch asking a father figure for advice isn't the end of the world. It's not, is it? It really isn't. Greg says, Luis Enrique is definitely the choice in the summer. I think he wants to come. He might do. And if he does, get him. Way of Weird says, I have totally switched off since Ruben was fired. Don't want Eddie Howe, Emery or Enrique. If not Ollie, do you have any Reject merch, Glenn F. No, we don't have any reject merch, Glenn. Thanks for your support. Anyway, been a member of the Academy for 58 months, but you can check out the merchandise. I'll put a little link in the chat there. Obviously, I'm wearing some. We can get my hat together. There you go. There's a little link in the chat for the merchandise. Help support the channel and also get some top quality stuff. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Michael Carrick situation as well. Where my sunglasses says, isn't Pep's contract up soon? We don't know whether it's going to be Ole or Michael Carrick. It's still up in the air. Who do you want to see as the next Manchester United manager, at least at the end of the season? I think that's safe to say. It's not going to be anything overly permanent, is it, with them two? I think it's just going to be to the end of the season and then someone's going to come in. I think it's important that it is to the end of the season as well. I think that needs to be something that Ineos do. They go, right, we'll get someone into the end of the season and then we'll get a full-time manager in or a permanent manager in after that. There's a protest this weekend. The 1958... we've gone with the article I think in The Guardian saying this about Manchester United fan group seeks to oust incompetent clown Jim Ratcliffe. They're doing a protest ahead of the Brighton game, I think it is, and they've called him an incompetent clown. Not a lot of love for Sir Jim Ratcliffe at the minute, is there? From the United fan base, a lot of people are annoyed with him, a lot of people are annoyed with what Ineos are doing. It looks like they're pretty incompetent. Some of these decisions don't seem like the decisions of an organisation who have a clear, coherent plan. The Ruben Amorim appointment, the way that was handled, the fact that we knew a manager was going to play three at the back, then we tried to get him to play four at the back. When he didn't, we more or less got rid of him. And also his tenure just wasn't a success. The Dan Ashworth thing, the way they handled Eric Ten Hag, it doesn't look great, does it, from Ineos' perspective? It looks like an organisation that is just all over the gaff. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe is getting a lot of flack, and I can understand why. Look, you know, he's laid off a lot of people. He's made a lot of cuts that aren't popular. The team haven't been doing very well. I just think it doesn't sound great, and especially doesn't sound great when you're hearing these stories about him interfering with the team, him trying to give his tactical advice to the manager. I don't mind an owner or a co-owner or a part owner having an opinion on tactics at Manchester United. It's fine. I've got tactics on Manchester United. I do own part of Manchester United. As you know, I'm a shareholder. I own a quarter of a share or whatever it is, 20 quid's worth. But everyone's entitled to their opinion. Of course they are, but you shouldn't be trying to influence the manager. I don't care how much or how long Sir Jim Ratcliffe's been around football for or how much money he's put into United. He's not a manager. He's not a coach. He's not played or managed or coached at the top level. That's not what he's there for. You need to let the manager manage the team. So that is a little bit concerning. I don't know whether that's added to some of the anger towards Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but certainly at the minute the fan base aren't very enamoured of him, shall we say. So we'll have to see. Kev84 says the merch looks decent. Thank you. Yes, it is. Martin P says, do these protests actually do anything? Not knocking the cause, because I agree, but I just don't see the protests doing anything. They can. Protesting can have an effect, right? I've taken part in protests. We've promoted protests on the channel. I remember it 2005, before the Glazers even took over, I think was a protest. And there's this myth that United fans only protest when things are going badly on the pitch. Not true. We protested in 2005 when we were one of the most successful teams in the league. I think we'd won the title 18 months previously. We protested in, I think, 2010 when we'd been to 2 Champions League finals. We'd won 3 in a row. We'd won the Champions League. We were literally in one of the best eras any Premier League club has ever had. And we had the Green and Gold campaign against the Glazers. So it's not just a case of when things are going badly, United fans protest. We'll always protest. Even when we protested and we got the Liverpool game suspended, relatively speaking, that team was in a pretty comfortable position. We were challenging near the top of the table. It was a good spell, but we were unhappy with the way the club was being run, and the sort of European Super League was just the icing on the cake after 17 years or whatever it was at the time of Glazer mismanagement. So fans are right to protest. I do think it can have an effect. Even if that effect is small, it can at least start people talking about the issues that are going on at Manchester United. It gets the media talking about it. It gets other fans and pundits talking about it. It sort of gets that narrative going where it forces people to address it, at least acknowledge it. And hopefully you can get some sort of change evoked because of that. Now, it might not. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. We've seen it with the Glazers over the years where a lot of those protests have fallen on deaf ears, but I do not think that should make you stop doing it. I also think you should try and protest, try and get your voice heard. And if you can't get down to Old Trafford, you can't protest physically, you can always talk about on social media. There's always a way of getting involved. Dario Brubeck says, Roy Keane suggests Eddie Howe in his own words, do me a favour, and I hear the words in his own words, do me a favour, and if I hear the words man manager, and get the best out of the players, I'll throw my TV out the window. Yeah, he's not having that one. Get the best out of the players, man manager. Dario doesn't want to hear that. Fair enough. WFR 1961 says Sky is garbage. We're going to get to that in a bit. I agree. I think Sky Sports has fallen off a bit of a cliff recently. I really do. I think some of the things we've seen on Sky Sports of late has just been beyond the pale. And I spoke about this yesterday. Do you know what? We'll get into it now. I spoke about this yesterday with Tim Sherwood, I think it was, going in on Benjamin Sesko. Gary Neville being a bit harsh very harsh on Benjamin Sesko. And Tim Sherwood going in on Benjamin Sesko even after he'd scored a brace in the second half. So at half-time he said he shouldn't play for United again. Scores a brace in the second half against Burnley, and he sort of doubles down on his opinion. And this morning, right, just as we were preparing for the live, I was watching Ref Watch. Anyone who watches this channel knows my opinion on Ref Watch. I think it's absolute trash. Dermot Gallagher, this is a guy who does a fake accent when he's doing it, and Jay Bothroyd, who's barely a Premier League player. I think he played in the Premier League 62 times is the graphic they always use. Well, what did he do? Them two giving their opinion. And what really frustrated and annoyed me this morning, and I know you think, why'd you watch it, Jay? I can't help myself. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where even though you know it's awful, you just end up watching it. It's like Love Island sometimes. So they were talking about the Burnley game, and you can see there, this is Kyle Walker stamping on Patrick Dorgu. A red card, right? That's a red card. Kyle Walker knows it's a red card because all of a sudden he starts apologising to Patrick Dorgu and trying to shake his hand because he knew he'd messed up. And if you watch the actual footage of it, this isn't a still where he's barely touched him, we've sort of manipulated it or caught it at the wrong angle or whatever. He stamps on the back of his leg, right? It's a red card all day long. They looked at it and they were like, yeah, you can see from reaction there, Dorgu's probably done him a bit of a favour. Maybe it could have been a yellow. What are you on about? It's a red card. Talking nonsense. And then you had the Martinez incident with Kyle Walker where Lisandro Martinez had his goal disallowed. And again, this was a bad decision by the referee. Look, if you watch the actual footage of it, you'll see Lisandro Martinez barely touches Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker knows what he's doing. He goes down. It's so soft. It's not a free kick. It should be a goal. And they're looking at it and they're going, Dermot Gallagher's praising the referee. He goes, he's let it run there. And then he knows it's a foul and he's right to give it because he's pulling his shirt. And then they show the footage and he's not pulling his shirt. He's just making things up. Honestly, Sky recently has been awful. And, it costs a lot of money to subscribe to Sky Sports. And it does my head in that if you want to watch the football legally, you have to sort of subscribe to Sky Sports and you have to sort of stomach some of the absolute nonsense that they spout on there. Wear My Sunglasses says, Sky went downhill when they let... I am not having that. Sky went downhill when they let Adam McCullough on it. No. Sky went back uphill when they had Adam McCullough on it. I'll have no Adam McCullough slander on this channel, even though there's been a lot of Jay Motti slander on this channel because of me wearing my suit. Let's just say that. Try and bring a bit of class to the channel and you get called Harold from the Halifax adverts or Penfold. Absolutely disgusting behaviour, and I'll be taking it up with my solicitors. Let's talk about Luis Enrique. Oh, sorry, what's next? It's Scott McTominay? Yeah, let's talk about Scott McTominay. Right. This is clickbait, isn't it? This is ultimate clickbait. Man United transfer news. Solskjaer's McTominay return stance clear as plan for 42 million man emerges. Manchester United are balancing the search for an interim head coach with January transfer plans as the club looks to finish strong in the second half of the Premier League. Right, so this is the evening news, sort of saying, could Ole Gunnar Solskjaer come in and try and bring in Scott McTominay? And the obvious answer is no. There's no indication that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can bring in anyone. For starters, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's not even the manager yet, right? He might not even become the manager. It might be Michael Carrick. We still don't know. Now, we know that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer loves Scott McTominay. He's a big fan of Scott McTominay. He played with Scott McTominay. He's sort of criticised the club for letting Scott McTominay go. I get all that. But is he going to be able to do any transfers? No, I don't think he is. I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to come in and be allowed to sign any players. And even if he was, are Napoli going to sell Scott McTominay? No, they're not. None of this makes any sense. So it says here, if Solskjaer is appointed as the interim head coach at Old Trafford, he might push for a reunion with their academy products. And then they're quoting him from 6 years ago. Fred mentioned, oh yeah, he's been excellent, and now that him and Fred work in a good relationship, work well together, did that last season, PSG when we had a few injuries, and now as well they are working as a pair. Maybe he's going to bring back Fred as well, eh? Maybe McFred is on the horizon. Come on. Like, that's just an absolute nonsensical story, innit, really? Let's be real here. I think the Evening News just trying to do a little bit of mischief making there almost, innit? Oh, he's back at the wheel, potentially. He could bring McTominay with him. Well, he can't. I don't think he's going to. I mean, you might like Scott McTominay and want him back at the club. I understand that. I know he's done very well since he left Napoli, and he's, in his final season at Manchester United. I said it myself. I thought that his last game at Wembley against City, I thought he played very well indeed, and he's a player that's very popular amongst a lot of Manchester United fans. Always speaks well of the club. Carried himself well when he was at Manchester United, and has done very, very well indeed at Napoli. However, I don't think the return of Scott McTominay, that's not even his name, McTominay, makes any sense. I don't think it's going to happen. And I think we kind of do have to move forward a little bit. We can't just keep going backwards with everything. So like, let's bring back, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, let's bring back Scott McTominay. In fact, what's Anthony Martial up to? Didn't he score the other day? Let's get him back. Marcus Rashford's on loan, we can recall him. Come on, man. Let's talk about Brian Mbeumo and Nouzair Mazraoui. Is it Cameroon versus Morocco today? There you go. We've done a little tweet there, and there is a spelling mistake on it, which we'll rectify. Which player are you routing for tonight? Okay. Cristiano, and that's his real name. We've got a Cristiano and we've got a Ronaldo on the channel, by the way. Cristiano's our new social media guru, and he's like, I'm sorry, it's my bad. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, bro. Rooting, that is rooting, but that's not the right kind of rooting, is it? When you're rooting for someone, it's double O, isn't it? Like, you're rooting for someone. That's like, I've just fitted a new Wi-Fi router. I'm going to be routing the game through my router. I think so, anyway. He's going to edit it right now. Hey, you're going to see it updated real life. No, it's not. So it's ROOTING. It don't matter. Don't worry about it. You get the point. It's that's just completely through me now. So it's Cameroon versus Morocco. We're in this weird situation, aren't we, with the AFCON? Because I always want to back United players. I always want to see them do well for their country. I don't like the idea of, we want them to get knocked out, we want them to lose, so they'll come back early. But there is a bit of that. Now, obviously, there you go. Stretford, Paddock, we always deliver. But, I mean, one of them's got to lose. They can't both go through. So you're in a bit of a weird position, aren't we, at the moment? You could argue that it's better for Manchester United. I do love both of those players, by the way, if Brian Mbeumo is back the soonest out of those two. You could argue that. And I think a lot of people might make that argument. However, I'm going to proper sit on the fence. I don't like to sit on the fence and just say, I wish them both well. Good luck, lads. Let me know what you think. Come on, Morocco, says Kevin credibly. We are struggling defensively, it says Wassi Mafsal. You can argue for either. They're both very good, aren't they? And they both play. When they're fit and they're available, they play for Manchester United. It's not like one of them isn't a regular star or whatever. I know Mazraoui probably is on the bench a little bit more than Brian Mbeumo, but Mazraoui's played about 70 games, hasn't he, for Manchester United, or something stupid. Get Brian back, says WFR. Stephanie Griffiths, always on the likes. Well done, Stephanie. Says 4 away from 100 likes. There's just loads of people saying bring back Amarin, bring back York and Cole. Being a little bit cheeky down, aren't we? Red Monkey 5 says, I've switched African allegiances so much lately, wishing to get our players home. Yeah, we do need some players back home. We've got some big games coming up, and we've got some big bids coming up. Listen, I have got some bad news. Forgive me, right? Because I'm a creature of habit, and I like to have sort of regularity in my life. I don't like change, yeah? I like consistency. This is why it's such a struggle being a United fan at the minute, because there is no consistency. There's no brew today. We can't have I've got to finish a little bit early and Steve's struggling to get in. So we're going to not have a brew this Friday afternoon, which is shocking, it's disgusting, it's disgraceful, it's all the above. But to make up for it, we've got an interview with Nathan Salt. That's going to be going out at 4 o'clock today. So we'll put that Nathan Salt interview out. I know it's not as good as The Brew. No disrespect to Nathan. I love him. But, we know, The Brew's probably the best show on YouTube. But it will be back next week. And also Nathan Salt's ace. And he's got a lot to say about what went on with Ineos, Amorim, Wilcox, Ratcliffe, everything. Because if you look at Nathan Salt's article last Friday, there was a lot going on there with Christopher Vavell and all the rest of it. And a lot of people, he got a lot of stick. People are like, really? Come on. And then on Monday, when Amorim got sacked, everyone was pointing to his article, including other journalists, saying, look, Nathan Salt was bang on the money. What he was saying was true. So we've spoken to him about that to get the nitty-gritty of just what went on with it all unravelling, because he's the guy to talk to. So no brew, forgive me, back next week, but we have got Nathan Salt, and that is a very, very good chat with him. Love having him on the channel, and he can give you a little bit, or give us a little bit more detail on just what was going on there with it all just going wrong for Ruben Amorim and Manchester United and Ineos and all the rest of it. Real recognises real, says Jay on Sky in his suit. MCD 3000 says no brew, criminal, way of weird, which is Glenn, and it says weekend is ruined with no brew. I know people unhappy. Someone says Jay's too busy in Parliament, says Gary Gillkeeper. I apologise, right? Tell you what we'll do. We'll do an extended brew next week, yeah? We'll do a bumper brew, yeah? We'll get me and Steve and maybe a guest as well on a Reet waffle for a long time next Friday. I do apologise. Also, I'm going to be chatting to Finn later for the preview. That'll be up tomorrow. Before we get Finn in for that one, because we want to talk about the academy. There's a chance, isn't there, that someone like JJ Gabriel, who is eligible for the FA Cup, could be in the squad. That would be amazing. So we'll be getting into all that. Also, Shea Lacey could even start on the weekend. Didn't do himself any harm, did he, with that little cameo against Burnley? So we're getting into all that. So make sure you're hitting like, share and subscribe. Go and check out the merchandise. Big thank you to everyone who got involved in the chat today. It's a weird feeling in it at United in a minute. Just feels like odd because, we've just sacked a manager again. You've got someone who's in for 2 games, so it seems. Then you've got to bring in a caretaker. And then we're going to get a permanent manager. I just don't know. And no one quite knows which way the wind's going to blow with any of that, really. So we'll have to wait and see. But the main thing, I think, is staying in the FA Cup, getting a win against Brighton this weekend, and then we move forward from there. I've been Jay Motti. This has been The Paper Talk. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.